What's going on, guys? Welcome to my channel. Today we're doing front brakes on my ISF. Haven't did a video on how I got these colored the way they are. They're not powder coated as though they look like they're powder coated. They're actually painted. So what I did is I taped up the whole entire rotor. I didn't take the brakes off the car, by the way. I took the pads actually off the caliper, and I just taped up everything I needed, sanded it all down with a scuff pad, like a Scotch pad, primered it 3 coats, and spray painted 2 coats, and then clear coated 3 coats. So it gives it a nice glossy shine. So I got OEM Brembo rotors and Textar pads. I heard Textars were equally as good as Brembo, just made in a different company, a country. So I went ahead and bought these. A good deal on eBay. So gonna slap new rotors up front and new pads up front. So it should be quite easy. These are the rotors. See Brembo right there. So ideally, what you need to do, okay, now that we're underneath the car, you can see back here it's not painted because I just chose not to paint that side. It's quite easy to take these pads off. You just have to loosen this bolt right here. I believe this bolt is a 15mm bolt. You loosen that, take that bolt off, and then you want to pull that bolt straight out that way, or it'll give you the ability to pull the pads out, which is what you initially want to do first. Then you have these two, let's see if I can do this. You have these 2 bottom and top mini little rods or pistons, you want to call them. These little rods, you're going to want to hammer them right here on this little triangular looking needle. You want to hammer that all the way out, and to help you with that, you want to press down on this shim. This whole shim is held down by tension. So, you know, those are the 3 things you need to take the pads off. Once you take those off, back here you have 2 17mm bolts you have to loosen, and then you're good to go. Once we pull everything off the caliper, we can move the caliper to the side and hang it inside here. Most cases, once you take the caliper off, the rotor should slap right off, no problem, if you don't have a lot of rust built up around here. But when I did paint my calipers, I took off the pads, and it, you know, loosely hung. So that's what she said. So I'm gonna go ahead and unbolt all this, and we'll be right back. Okay, so the bolt that we took off in the middle of the caliper is actually a 13mm, and you just gotta hammer it out the opposite way, and then it'll come right off. These 2 little pins are actually held on by the tension of this little, you know, metal bracket. So you gotta press down on both ends and hammer it out gently. You know, especially if yours painted or whatever, you want to be careful not to hit any of these little sensitive areas. But once you get that done, for the pads, you can use like this little pry bar, you know, medium-sized one. You want to just wedge it. Let's see. You want to wedge it in between the caliper, the rotor and the brake pad, and you want to pry the pad itself towards the caliper. So when you pry it towards the caliper, it'll press all the pistons into the caliper. So once you get one side in, you want to shove like a smaller pry bar, or even a small screwdriver, into that spot, the first one that you started. So let's say I did the inside first. You want to pry it in there, hold it in place, then use it again, the pry bar on the second side or the opposite side, and depress the pistons out that way. That way you have even distribution of pressure. Because if one of these caliper pistons sticking out, and you try to put the brake pad back into the caliper, it's gonna get stuck since you're putting a brand new one. So I got Textar, pretty much the same ideally, except this one, it's one solid piece of pad. This one has slightly vented in the middle, I guess better for braking and ventilation, but they're near identical. So that's that. Now he's got to unbolt the two 17 millimeters out back to drop the caliper. The rotor should come off easily. Maybe if not, hit it with a dead blow hammer, the little orange coated one. Since I'm not going to use this rotor again, this is pretty bad. See the lip? The lip on it is pretty harsh, and the grooves are really noticeable. So I just considered it's 130,000 miles on my car. I might as well just replace the rotor. So I'll go ahead and do that. I got the caliper off. It's actually just hanging here. I put the what you call it? The pry bar in between the lower control arm, and it's kind of like hooked right here underneath the tow rod, and it's just hanging on there. That's not a bad way to protect your caliper, you know. So just make sure there's enough meat on both sides so it doesn't fall off. So right here, I'm gonna hit it with a hammer, top or bottom, and try to knock this thing out. Once you bolt everything back together, pretty much good to go. Just press on the pedal a few times when you get into the car to make sure the pistons are engaged, so you don't hit anything when you start driving. Very common. Here we go. Alright guys, it's been about a week since I had the brakes on. As you can see, they're wearing pretty evenly all the way around. See, I washed the car once and it's got a little bit of brake dust, so it's about the same as OEM Brembos in terms of how much brake dust it produces under daily driving. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. But yeah, that's how you put on front brakes. It's quite easy, quite simple. If not, you can always go on the forum and get a full ride out. I'm pretty sure someone has it on there.